Hi, friends. Hopefully you can hear us. I think we're good. Hold on. So it's recording? Yeah, it is. Okay, good. Hi. Let me go soundbite. Give me a drink.
Yeah. Cute mug.
Hey, guys. Welcome to our live for the week. We are talking all things bartending today with Mason. We actually lost the privilege of going live on Instagram because they changed the follower requirement this week. So this week we're only live on YouTube, but we'll upload this later on Instagram. If you're new here, we are the Perfect Day Company. We coordinate weddings all over the Four Corners area. We do about 100 a year. And our main role is to oversee all the setup, all the cleanup, as well as making sure your vendors get where they need to go, your guests get where they need to go. And we just always say we're the first people to get there and the last people to leave, just making sure your day goes smoothly. We are doing this Sip, Spill, Strategize series to run through all the different vendors that you might interact with during your wedding planning, just so that you can hear a little bit from actual wedding pros and from coordinators about things to think about, things you might not have thought about when you're talking about bartending with your partner or with your family or with your potential vendors. And so hopefully this is super helpful. I'm gonna let Mason introduce himself and then we're gonna dive right into some bartending trends for this wedding season. I'm gonna tweak this a little bit while you introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Mason. I have 25 years experience in the hospitality industry, originally from Indianapolis. Worked at some really cool restaurants and bars in Indianapolis and Seattle, Telluride, and now I'm here in Durango,
Yes,
where I work with the Perfect Day Company, bartending events and weddings in the region.
Yeah, so Mason, how many weddings do you think you're doing with us this year? Something like 15, 20? Yeah.
Something like that.
So it's been really fun to be able to work with people regularly and get to know their bartending style. One of my favorite things about Mason is he has a very similar approach to bartending as we do with coordination, which is we don't have time-based contracts. We're going to show up and make sure your day is like as good as it can be, all the way through like planning your menu and everything. So we're really excited that he's here to chat. So before we get into bar trends, I want to give a big disclaimer. We're going to answer these questions just like all of our other live streams in a way that if we were to get married today, this is what we would do at our weddings. If you are doing something that we don't like, that is not to say that you shouldn't do that at your wedding. We're here to support you in whatever you want for your wedding. But we just want to make sure, we just think it's fun to talk through some recent bar trends. So the first one, and this has been a trend since I got into the industry 11 years ago, which is naming your cocktail names based on like the couple. So it'd be like a his and hers. Yay or nay?
Why not?
Okay, great. I would say, I don't think I did custom cocktails at my wedding. No, it was just like open bar.
Open bar.
Yeah, but I think that's probably controversial. But naming cocktails after your pets.
Well, I think the names of cocktails are made up anyway, so have fun.
Okay. Like the initial names,
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. That's
Call
true.
it whatever you want.
Great. Okay, so you're saying yes to naming them after your pets.
Absolutely.
That's what you want.
Whatever.
I would say yay if you make one of those cute little bar signs that has cute pictures of your pets.
That is a nice touch.
So cute.
It adds a little.
Mason and I actually have one coming up that actually has little like drink stirs that have the pets' faces on them. Which is
I didn't know that. That's okay. Something to look forward to there.
Super fun. Yeah. Okay. Champagne towers.
Now, they're very cool. I think they're wasteful, but that's just.
Wait, why would you say wasteful? Like people don't actually drink the champagne.
Yeah, and I mean.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
It's definitely a showstopper moment. It's
a
great photo op.
It's for the picture.
So again, I mean, it's really your day. So
do you feel the same way about champagne passes? Like they're pretty wasteful because a lot of people are not drinking the champagne.
No, I think people will have some, and it's a nice prop to wield.
Again, for the picture.
For the picture.
I know.
Yeah.
It's cute.
I'm not opposed to them. I cringe a little inside every time, but
I know that you're like pouring champagne everywhere.
But
do you feel like when I now have so many follow-up questions. When you like shake the champagne and explode it, do you think that's wasteful?
Yeah.
You should drink it.
I used to do wine education. I know how much goes into sparkling wine, and it's just like, but it's okay. I mean, it's
it's for the picture.
It's for the picture.
I don't know. I don't remember which live it was that we were talking about this, but I've actually had a few champagne towers tip over.
That's also a worry, but
So that's just something to kind of think about is the logistics of who's setting it up, what glasses they have, where it's going. My biggest tip is, if you want to use coupes, not champagne glasses, and my biggest tip is to put it on a floor that is like stable. So if you are at a venue that has a wood floor on a second level, don't do that. But if you're like on something that's concrete that like people can't stomp, it's not that someone knocks it over, it's that the floor shakes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Coupes though. Coupes.
Yeah, you have to use coupes. They actually make glass champagne coupes that actually nest together.
Oh.
And I don't have any, but I think if you were serious about doing a champagne tower, they make plastic ones too, but I would get the glass ones that they like click together.
Oh, wow.
So then they're just a little more stable.
I think a plexi base is also something.
Yeah, like having some sort of like elevated base. Yeah. Okay. Champagne towers. I want to skip over this because I want to talk about mocktails at the end, but let's do cash bars.
I mean,
I know. I think most people are going to say no. You need to check with your venue because there's only certain venues that can do this. Your venue has to have an alcohol retail license to be able to do a cash bar. So it has to be somewhere that has a bar normally, whether that's Purgatory or the Wyman or the Rochester here. Yeah, you can't even do a cash bar at most venues because bartenders don't have like an alcohol sales license.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just a
and then
logistics
there's
thing.
a point of sale, and it just distracts from the whole experience too, I think.
Yeah, and then if you're taking money, I would say you need to ID every time, wouldn't you? Yes.
Yeah.
So that just it
just slows it down.
Yeah, a little bit slow. Signature drinks only instead of doing a full bar. What do you see more? Full bars or?
Absolutely not. Commonly, it's signature drinks. And my philosophy on this is less is absolutely more.
Okay.
And it's always nice to have your cocktails. You can use the liquors and have basic mixers as a backup.
Okay.
So if somebody doesn't want the specific cocktail,
they could tweak it a little bit.
They could say, okay, I'll have
I want the tequila with Coke or something.
Exactly. Or I want the vodka with the soda.
Okay.
And that's always a good option. And, generally people are pretty happy to.
I think people really think that their friends, this is my theory. I think people go out to drinks with their friends and they think that their friends like to drink beer and wine, which they probably do. But I think that when you go out with your friends, they're paying for their own drinks and they're buying beer and wine because it's $6 instead of $14.
Yeah. Sure.
And when people go to weddings, they almost always drink the cocktails.
They do.
Don't they?
I feel like at least a few.
So I would assume everyone at your wedding is going to have a cocktail, even though you feel like, oh no, so and so is a beer person.
I think it's a couple signature drinks is the way to is the move.
Perfect.
Sure.
There's a reason that I think sometimes couples get into this and they want to be different or like, oh, what if we did it this way? There's actually kind of a reason why most people do 2 signature drinks and beer and wine and then some mixers too. So,
yeah.
Okay. Open bar all night. Is that in contrast to cash bar? I don't know what that's asking.
I don't know what that's asking. I mean, you want to put a limit on it because people are cutting a little loose anyway. You're just kind of like cutting your liability by kind of capping it at a time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all night, like, what do we mean?
So we talked about this a little. I think that maybe it was when we talked about DJs. We talked about like the really sweet spot for dancing is between an hour and a half to 2 hours. And so there's not really any reason to have like a full open bar with a bartender and everything, in my opinion, past 10, mostly for dancing reasons. If you have a longer dance floor, people don't get as hyped because they know they have to last 2 hours.
Right.
Or 3 hours or 4 hours if you want a 1 a.m. But I would switch to an after party with something more casual.
Absolutely. Well, then you're keeping the interest there, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. Late night espresso martini bars. This is the thing right now, espresso martinis. And you're a barista right now too.
I am.
So how do you feel about espresso martinis?
I make a good espresso martini, a killer one actually. I think it's a great cocktail. I can't drink espresso like I once did. So my only concern is the caffeine, but it keeps the party going.
I have that down when we talk about things people forget is just having caffeine at your event. And we'll talk about it right now, I guess. But I think that some people are not night people. And so typically they wouldn't drink caffeine at 5, 6, 7 p.m.
But it's an event.
It's an event. And so I think almost always having multiple caffeine options, whether it's coffee or espresso, or I even tell people like, you'd be surprised. People ask for Red Bull and Celsius. So even just having a few cases where people can say, hey, do you have any caffeine? I mean, Coke works for that too.
Sure.
Coca-Cola.
It depends on the venue, but if I can offer a coffee service, I always like to. It's just a nice touch, especially after dinner.
Yeah. Do people usually ask for that? Like with their cake?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. And I think even people, like I was trying to think, I don't drink coffee at home after dinner, but if I was at a wedding, I think I would.
Yeah,
You're like having to like get hype on the dance floor.
I
for
totally
4
would.
hours.
And when I go out to eat at a restaurant, I usually get a coffee with dessert. So
Okay. So I think that's one of the things that people really forget, that almost if you forget it, a lot of people are going to ask and be bummed. Yeah. So we see that a lot.
best be prepared.
Yep. Opening the bar before the ceremony. I would always say no.
Yeah.
But I'm a coordinator and I have to get everyone seated.
Sure. I think having if they wanted like a
welcome drink, like
welcome
a champagne
drink,
or
something easy and like very limited.
So it's like one drink as you arrive.
Or have some iced beer or something like that. Okay. So something in hand, but
I would definitely read your group too.
Sure.
If you have the type of group, I mean, my family, they're going to show up and be like, hey, where's the bar? Like they don't want to be sitting outside in the sun without a beer in their hand. So I think knowing your group is important.
Absolutely.
And also knowing, are they the type of group who are going to get sloshed and you don't want that? I have a lot of brides who say, absolutely no, I know my friends. They are not allowed to drink before my ceremony. I don't need them drunk watching me getting married, So just read your group.
Yeah, read your group. And I think just a limited option of something light alcohol content is a good move.
For sure. Monogrammed cups. I personally trend towards doing glassware instead of cups, which I have talking on here later. But
yeah, if that's what you want, then
great.
I'm all for it.
Okay, toast with drink in hand instead of champagne. I like champagne pours if I were going to do one at my wedding. If I got married tomorrow, I would do a champagne pour.
Again, it depends on the couple. I mean, it is a good photo op. It is. I mean, it's a tradition.
It's a tradition. I think sometimes if it's a more traditional wedding, you almost have to do it because people expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shots. We've had some weddings together where we had people do some shots.
I discourage shots. There's a few reasons, which I know one we get to later, which is altitude.
Altitude, yeah.
If someone wants a liquor neat or on the rocks, I try to sway them in that direction, as opposed to just
like it. I always say, if you go up to the bar and ask for a tequila shot, your bartender will probably give it to you, but let's maybe not put that on the menu. Let's not do signature shots.
Definitely
Let's not make it like a thing.
We're not good. Advertising it is not good.
Yeah. I just have seen it go wrong so bad. It gets people drunk so much faster. They're not really letting the altitude affect the alcohol. And I got cute little hummingbirds outside. They're so cute. I would probably say no to shots. This is another venue specific. Some venues have a hard no on shots. So I would just definitely check with that. I know some people really like the photo op of the shot ski, or they were in a fraternity and they have a certain shot. What's the one where you put the Red Bull?
Like a bomb.
Yeah. So I've seen people want to do a bridal party shot.
So that would be something timed or planned.
Okay. At a certain time in the timeline.
Is when you're going to do
right before a group dance or something.
Right.
Okay.
Like this, whether it's like you said, the college.
Or you're doing a shot with your dad.
Right.
Something like that where you're
a planned scheduled shot.
Yeah. Okay.
Would be
better. Okay, perfect. Okay, that kind of is all of our bartending trends. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what bartending looks like depending on the type of venue you choose. So if you're going to go, like I mentioned, with a venue that has a bar, typically during the week, that would be in our area, Purgatory, the Rochester Hotel, the Wyman Hotel. I'm trying to think if there's any other bar, or if you just got married at a restaurant. The bartending is going to look very different there because they have a liquor license for their restaurant. And so they're the only people who can serve alcohol. So even if you wanted to bring in a bartending service, it's not just they're trying to make the cash on it. They physically cannot with their alcohol license. So that's just something when you're choosing a venue to keep in mind, is if having a lot of creative freedom over how your alcohol is served, that might not be a great venue to choose because it's going to be pretty restricted. Some of those venues will restrict it all the way down to here's our bar menu. You have to choose from this. And some of them will actually order alcohol in, but you're using their bartenders, their glasses, their alcohol. The next level would be more of a DIY venue, like the Black Diamond Lodge or the Riverbend Ranch. Ridgewood Event Center, La Platte. These places require that you have a bartender, but you don't have to use their bartender. So typically you're either hiring a one-off bartender or a bartending service. That is going to be really similarly priced to the experience that you're going to have at one of those restaurant type bars, because they're going to have to come in, you're going to have to rent glasses, they're going to have to order the alcohol and kind of build it themselves. And then the completely DIY route is if you're getting married on private property or in the middle of a field. Yeah, we have a few of those this year.
Yes, we do.
If you are literally building a bar from the ground up, actually, everything from tables to the back bar, linens. You have to have something to figure out, like, what are we doing with the glasses after? You have to have trash cans, so much ice. And so those are just some really big considerations. I think sometimes people think, okay, I'm going to budget alcohol into my wedding budget, and they don't think about budgeting bartending. So whether you're going with the more traditional venue that's going to have like a minimum and that covers the bartending, or you're paying for a bartending service plus alcohol, just making sure you have those line items for both the alcohol and the bartending. In our area, a least experienced bartender is going to run between $150 to $200 an hour, plus maybe $50 per bar back. That's going to be someone who doesn't have a service. They probably don't have the equipment. They're probably just a friend that bartends downtown. That's fine, but they typically don't have event experience. So they're used to bartending at a restaurant, which is, as you know, is a little bit different than bartending at a wedding or an event. The way you monitor overconsumption is different. The way you monitor,
the job is fundamentally the same, but there's definitely a lot more to
some
consider.
differences. So
I can catch them.
People show up and they're like, wait, this isn't what I expected.
Yeah.
So that's why it's cheaper. And then as you move up, you're going to have like the newer bartenders that are more of a service. Mason, it's just him. Then he hires a few different bar backs to kind of support him. That's going to run a little bit more. And then your full bartending services that have companies that do multiple weddings a weekend, that have like 8+ bartenders that work for them, they have bars that they bring, et cetera, are going to be even more. So kind of really putting some thought into what's your venue, what's your setup, what are your bartending needs, what's your budget, can kind of help you decide where you're going to fall in that line. I have had weddings that I've discouraged them from hiring a bartender, but that's very rare. If you truly just want beer and wine and your venue allows it not to have a bartender, and I think self-pour is fine, I would say if you're having any hard alcohol, doing any mixing, you need to have a bartender. The liability is so strongly on you as a couple when you're hosting a wedding that it's just really worth to have a bartender to some extent monitoring that kids aren't getting into it.
And the more complex the offerings, that's less that you have to worry about. Just hire someone that knows.
For sure. I have so many couples that start down the track and they're like, I'm going to do it myself and we're going to just have everyone serve themselves. And then they get into, wait, how much do we need to order? How many lemons do we want? Those are things that you hire a bartender to do for you. So that's my little plug for, there are some weddings that you can DIY bartending, but that's like the exception, not the rule. Out of our 100 a year, I think maybe 3 have no bartender. And then you have to have someone get the ice and the coolers and load the coolers, and it's a lot of work. Yeah. I'm like, even then it's so much work. Okay, great. Mason's going to talk a little bit about like booking your bartender.
That's a good segue, I think. Booking your bartender, what are you looking for? You know, what makes for a good wedding bartender? I think someone with experience, obviously, with venues and just bartending in general.
I would ask people if they've been bartended at your venue.
Yeah.
And if not, are they willing to go up there and tour
and check it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, someone who's open, someone who's really listening to what it is that you want, and someone who's creative. I mean, that's my favorite part really, is listening to the couple and applying my know-how and making it work. So someone who's flexible and really willing to listen to you, and be open, I think is a huge thing that you're looking for. But definitely experience. What your bartender wants to know from you, obviously the date, very important. How many people? I mean, this is important for so many reasons.
That's probably the most important because it can change their budget.
It changes the budget.
Because you could send a quote and then if their guest count substantially changes, which we've actually had happen recently.
So if you initially are talking to your bartender and it's 100, and then getting closer to the event, it's now 150. That's going to change things.
It changes
there's
your
a
budget.
lot of different setup. There's a
menu.
lot of different supplies, staffing. So
for sure, guest count.
Mm-hmm.
If when possible, I would lean higher, but most vendors will take a range. So if you're like,
Sure.
I think it's going to be between 75 and 150,
Totally.
then at least Mason can say, okay, I'm going to quote you for 150 and then I'll hire my bar back later. So, let me know where you fall in that range. But most vendors will take like a range. I don't mind big ranges.
At all. No.
Yeah.
As long as I have an idea. And again, things change.
For sure.
Someone, being flexible is nice. What you're supplying. So, who's being very clear about who's providing what.
We talk about like ice cups, mixers, shakers.
And you should be able to let your bartender take the lead on that. They know what they...
I actually was going to say, if you're looking for a good wedding bartender, when you get on the phone with your bartender, you should be able to be like, hey, I kind of have an idea of what my friends drinks. And the bartender should be able to help you build your menu, help you figure out quantities, give you a list of things that you need, like cups or lemons or knives. I mean, like your bartender, if you're not getting that from your bartender, you probably need to switch bartenders.
They should be asking all the questions.
They should be asking the questions.
And guiding you through it, for sure.
That goes for any vendor. You shouldn't necessarily have to come up. This is why I hate if you go to Wedding Wire or online listing sites and say like, questions I should ask my bartender. We're actually seeing this so much because people are using ChatGPT to search like, hey, what are questions I should ask my wedding bartender? And we start getting the weirdest questions. And my biggest thing is you actually need to focus on hiring the people who you don't need to ask questions to, that they're going to ask the questions to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's really
touch.
important for any vendor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a very...
You have a whole questionnaire.
I have a
Most
laid out
people do.
template of, and it's really, it looks like chicken scratch, but I have my categories and then I revise it later. But I try to cover all the bases. What do you want? What is it that you're looking for? What is your ideal wedding setup? That I want to know what.
Yeah. And I think part of that is not only the menu, but what do you want it to feel like? Do you want people to get through the line really fast?
Sure.
Do you want people to be...
Or is there going to be decor on the bar?
We had a couple who stepped out of their car and they wanted a drink there when people stepped out of their car. So they got out of their car, they got a welcome drink. And so what do you want that to feel like for couples and people who are coming to your wedding? As soon as you get there.
Yeah, definitely. And that leads right into the timeline. What is... from start to finish, what are you envisioning?
This is one of the things too that you won't need to know every detail of your timeline because the coordinator that you hire will kind of communicate that with the bartender. But for them to make an accurate quote, they are going to need to know what times the bar open.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then who your coordinator is. Yeah. So that's where we come in. We obviously always advocate for a coordinator, but what would you say coordinators help with on the bartending side?
On the bartending side?
Yeah, like what? If you had a wedding with no coordinator versus a wedding with
definitely the timeline and sort of like guiding people and giving them a clear understanding of how the evening is going to flow.
Yeah.
It's always best to have a coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in a lot of different situations and I can pretty much handle whatever, but it's much nicer.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier.
Everyone knows what the expectations are. It's just a little more of a guided thing, and it just takes the pressure off of the bride.
Yeah, we always say it's just a contact that the bartender doesn't have to ask you questions. That we've talked to you so many more times. I mean, you might have a few consults with a couple, but we've talked to them so much that I feel like we know what their vision is for their day. And so if you're like, hey, would the couple want X or Y, we can usually answer that for them. So it's really helpful. Okay, so I know we talked about this a little bit, but how many things do you feel like people should have on their menu? Let's just say, let's pretend we're in a bar consult and I'm having a wedding.
Sure.
Like,
so,
hey, I know some friends drink tequila and some friends drink whiskey, and how many things should I have on my menu?
I think 2 signature cocktails, a his and a hers, or however, the pets or whatever, however it is you decide.
Do you build that based on like what I as a couple want?
Typically, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What I like to drink.
What you like to drink, sure.
Okay.
And then I usually will take it in a direction, but some people know what they want right away.
Okay.
Either way is fine with me.
And so would you say like if maybe I don't know, do you try to do something like seasonal or?
Seasonal always works. Okay.
Or like local maybe, like something
like for instance,
Colorado?
I'll make like a Palisade peach syrup, and something local and
because people are coming to Colorado and it's like a taste
regional
of our area.
if I can, absolutely.
I had to get someone do like a Southwest green chili cocktail.
That sounds good.
Which was like cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So that's fun.
So typically sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. They know what liquor they want, what they, what do you like, what don't you like? And I take it from there typically and we can hone in on something. So 2 signature cocktails I always like to offer a nice mocktail,
Okay.
something that isn't just a bunch of juice shoved in the glass and say, here you go. Something nice, something
Yeah.
that takes a little time to
Okay.
make.
I actually was gonna say it's funny because you don't drink,
Right.
and I don't. I like have a glass of wine every 3 months, so I don't say like I don't drink, but I don't usually drink. And so, what would you say? I actually have seen couples more trending towards. We actually have more weddings this year than ever, not having alcohol at all. And I actually have one of them that's actually hiring a bartender for a completely alcohol-free event.
How cool!
And which is so cool. So, what would you say the bartender's role is in that like non-alcohol space?
I mean, just managing the flow of the drinks. I mean, it doesn't alcohol or no. I mean, that is the job, but just managing that, making sure there's enough.
So, what do you say when it's just like iced tea and lemonade? When you say non-alcoholic drinks, what are you thinking? Like a good cocktail?
Well, I would always want to push them towards something fun and nice and special.
What are some of your favorite mocktails?
I do a really awesome strawberry lavender lemonade.
Awesome.
I do a ginger mojito, like a virgin ginger
that
mojito.
One's so good.
You've had that one.
I love that one.
That's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, so good.
Anything with I don't know. I really like to. I lean on making those syrups.
Like the syrups and something sparkly.
Yeah. Typically.
And then the garnish.
With
it's
a
just
fun
like
garnish.
You feel more fun when
Absolutely.
you have a garnish in your hand.
Absolutely. I always loved when I go to a restaurant or somewhere that will make you a nice mocktail.
Yes.
And you're like, cool.
Yeah. I also have loved the trend. I've had a few people making like kid mocktails at their weddings. So they actually have a kid specialty drink. So you come up and it's like, here's the kid menu. And it's got
that's a cool idea.
things. So, and I thought that was so cool. I know one of our coordinators, Lexi, is building like a kid menu for her bar. But they just have so many kids that they want it to feel fun and special, like with cute straws and garnishes.
They should have fun too.
Yeah, I think that's so fun. And obviously that doesn't apply to what people who are like, no kids at my wedding. But there are people who want a lot of kids at their wedding, or they have their own kids.
That's why I always push for a mocktail too, something for the kids.
Yeah.
You could always add booze to the mocktail.
Yeah, that's true too. Do you have people do that?
All the time.
I want this mocktail.
I had a wedding. Was it my last wedding that I did the strawberry lavender lemonade? Yeah. And it was a huge hit, and people were spiking it with the vodka. Yeah. And it was fun. They had a good time with it.
That's
so I say 2 signature cocktails: a mocktail, beer and wine.
Okay.
Seltzer, are super popular right now. And then a non-alcoholic soda, a sparkling water, LaCroix.
I've seen people doing like CBD sodas. Yeah. I've seen people doing
You mentioned the caffeine.
Yeah, some sort of caffeine. Yeah. Okay.
But less is more. Just remember.
I know you really don't have to have everything.
Less is more.
Because even if your mom drinks white wine, she'll have champagne at your wedding. Your mom's a bad example. Get whatever your mom wants for your wedding. But ask your parents.
I usually ask, what does mom want?
You should ask your parents. But if your sister typically drinks whiskey and you don't have whiskey at your wedding, she's just going to drink something else.
She will. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is my most popular bartending question as a coordinator. Like, how the heck do you figure out how much alcohol to order for someo's wedding?
Oh gosh. Well,
I know it's a hard question.
It is, and I struggle with it, and I can get pretty close. But are they heavy drinkers? That's the first question.
Okay.
And then you can typically, that's an equation of 1 drink per person per hour.
Okay.
And then you sort of, people are going to lean toward the cocktails. Then they're going to fall back on beer and wine. Some people have
especially
wine with
later
dinner.
night.
Yeah.
Okay.
When they're
and then wine with dinner. Yeah.
And then wine with dinner.
Okay. And then champagne if you want to do a champagne toast. So my default question is that something your bartender's going to handle? I think it's one of the biggest stressors for couples, especially because they're trying to build out their budget for alcohol. And I almost always say, don't worry, get on the call with your bartender. They're going to do the ordering. One of my favorite tricks for this is we have a local liquor store, and I think most places do, that will actually take returns for anything that's undrink. So again, something your bartender would manage, but they can order the alcohol and actually return anything that doesn't get drank.
It's really nice. I work
and
with
so,
that.
because sometimes you arrive and it's the hottest day of the year and everyone drinks white wine instead of red wine.
Exactly.
Like, you just don't know.
You just don't know.
And sometimes people show up and like someone gets the trend going where we're doing lavender lemonade vodka, and you didn't realize everyone's going to do vodka. So I've had weddings where we have to run and get a few extra bottles of tequila. A lot of venues in town, that's not even an option to like. There's nowhere close.
If you're working with, and I love working with that liquor store. If you are working with a liquor store,
shout out to Mike. We love Mike.
Mike's the man. And that's an option. Just get a little extra if you can. I mean, it's better
Yeah.
to have a little more.
I just am like, what's it gonna hurt to have 2 extra cases of beer that you maybe drink at your after party or drink the next day, or you return it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I would say, assume everyone's gonna drink cocktails, but I've always said too, it's okay to, you don't want to run out of alcohol, but it's okay to run out of the vodka. After you all have signature cocktails, it's like it's 9
now
p.m.
we're moving on
and
to.
sorry, we were out of vodka, and now we're on
having
to the
seltzers.
beer. You know, like it's free alcohol. You're at a party. I do encourage people, like, it's not the end of the world if you're midway through, like 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, you don't want to run out at the beginning, but if you're
like mid dance party and everyone had all the cocktails and now we are on to beer and wine, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, everyone drank the red wine with dinner and we're on to something.
We're on to something else.
Yeah. So.
And I've never really had anyone when we've run out of something throw a huge.
Do they usually just pick something else?
Yeah, they do. No okay, in that case, we'll do this.
Okay, that's actually a good question. Have you ever had anyone pitch a fit about anything? Are you relatively?
There always seems to be one.
It's like, you don't have this.
There's always one guest that wants to sort of butt heads with you a little bit, but I'm the master, so I know how to. I know how to redirect them.
Okay, I want to jump down to where we talk about, like, we talked about licensing and as far as it goes to your venue, but I do want to talk about just quickly about liability. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons we really, really encourage our couples to get event liability insurance. It typically covers, obviously, your bartender is going to have their own insurance. Your coordinator's going to have their own insurance. The venue has their insurance, and typically we have to share all those with each other to even work together. But the event liability insurance covers you as the couple. And this is like something that you don't want to anticipate having happened. But if there were ever a lawsuit because of a car accident, because of over serving, we're going to be covered because of our insurance, but it would cover you as the event host. And so it's just something we really encourage. Obviously, like, worst case scenario, we would never want that to happen at anyone's wedding, but just something to kind of think about. Let's talk. I want to talk about glassware because we're doing a few private property weddings. Mm-hmm. I think that because, when you're in the industry, you're like, oh yeah, that's a given. But I think this might not be a given. When you rent glassware or plates from a rental company for a private property wedding or wedding in a field, you're not having to wash those. Basically, you rent them. They bring them in glass racks. Your bartender is going to have to set all that up. It's a ton of work. So when you see
one of those coming up,
I was going to say, it's so much work. Your bartender has to unload the crates, unwrap the crates, organize them, set them up, get the glasses out. And then serve in them, and then someone has to collect all those glasses and put them back in the dish rack. So I think when you're trying to decide plastic or glassware, I always lean glassware. There's just some more labor involved. I wouldn't even say logistics. It's just more labor.
It's just more labor, but it's a nicer experience.
So I would just say, it's just so much nicer. So I would just say making sure, I guess, anticipate additional costs, whether that's from your bartender or if your bartender won't do it, your coordinator can add on costs to do that packing up, or maybe your caterer. A lot of caterers will have that extra thing. So that's kind of what I want to say about glassware. I want to talk quickly about kegs. I'm never going to say no to kegs at weddings because almost always, if you want to have a keg, it's because you have a friend with a brewery that's hooking you up, or they're like your friend made it. So I have that a lot with kegs. I don't want to say like a hard no on kegs. That being said, the amount of kegs I've had poured out, I don't know why. Like, it's so wasteful.
It is.
I pour out like 3/4 of kegs almost every time there's a keg. So with cans, you can drink on it all month long, or you can return it.
Absolutely.
And you can take it out. Take it with you. You can set it out at your cocktail hour. You don't have to have a keg tap. So kegs, I think people think are cheaper, and I think that they're not because I pour out so much beer. So much beer.
There's a lot of waste.
And then what's the deal with like high altitude in kegs?
The gas and it's just
they get really bubbly, and I don't know.
It doesn't. It's just not. I don't know the science behind it, but
it doesn't really work very well.
It doesn't really work very well.
So if you're down in town, maybe kegs are better an option, or if you're at a restaurant that has a kegerator that's tuned to the altitude. Right.
Good
that call. Like throwing a keg tap on in Silverton, you're getting 100% foam out of the spigot.
And talk about wasteful. There you have it.
I know. So I know you want a keg at your wedding. I would say probably don't, but. I don't ever say don't ever do things. Okay, we're going to conclude with what do people typically forget at weddings for alcohol? And I don't know if you have anything to add this, but.
This is a pretty good list.
Okay.
I always like to provide a menu.
Okay, like printed.
Print it.
Yeah.
It really helps.
I think people they don't know. They don't know if it's an open bar. They don't know if they're supposed to pay. They don't know if it's beer or wine or
It's all about guiding the experience.
They
and
don't know.
It's a prop that they can look at and say, oh, here's not ask you, do you have this? Do you have that?
Yes.
Oh, here it is.
Great.
And I like to list the cocktails. I like to list the liquors that I actually have. That way, if they don't like the cocktail, I can make them something.
And I like the cute pet faces.
The cute pet faces.
And do you think that works better as like a frame or two on the bar top, or do you like the paper menu? People can.
I like it in
around?
a frame.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep.
I would say that too, and then just do something that if it rains, it's not going to get ruined. So if you have like a chalkboard, I usually spray it with acrylic, or like if you have a frame, just making sure it's in glass, because we've just had a lot of drink menus ruined because of rain.
Smart.
Actually, I would say no glass, because we've had a lot of drink menus break too. So something that's not glass but also waterproof.
Altitude.
Yeah, you talk about altitude.
Yeah, altitude. I don't remember the exact ratio, but
it's something like 1 to. I think one drink is like 3 at
1 to
sea
3
level.
Yeah.
I think it's 1 to 3.
And I've seen Mighty fall. I sure have. The big
and
dude,
like legitimately fall,
like
down the stairs fall.
So it's always something to remind people of. This kind of leads to the water.
I think sometimes the problem, and that it leads to the water. I think sometimes people are already dehydrated because they've been here for 3 days. They don't, they didn't realize they drink a little bit at the rehearsal dinner. So yes, it's about how much they drink, but I also think it's how much water they don't realize you need in our climate. It's the altitude and it's the climate. It's hot here. It's dry here. You need more water. So
it's just good to remind everybody. And I always try to pay attention. I know in the back of my mind, okay, they've had this much, and I'm able to, hey, have some water in a friendly way, and suggest that, or maybe have this, and then we'll talk about another drink.
And I would say water stations are great, and you always should have one at every single wedding.
Yes.
You should have one at the bar, and then usually over by the tables
Absolutely.
as well. But I would say water stations aren't enough. That you really should have water at the table as well. Mostly because there's the people who are like, oh yeah, I'm not going to get water at the water station. I'm fine. And so if you have water at the table, they're usually having a cup with dinner.
If you have water, they will drink it.
Yeah. I usually go around, like funny enough, at the venues we manage, I go around during the dinner and refill everyone's glass, which I think is extra because we have a water station, but I'm like, drink another one. I always say 1 glass of water for every alcohol drink you drink, which is my personal rule. Prevents the hangover.
I like to do spa water at the bar.
Yes.
There's some fruit in there. It tastes good.
One of the other things you can head off this by like water at your rehearsal dinner, water when people check into their hotel, water bottles in their welcome bags. Like I think that there's a lot you can do to head it off before the wedding even happens. Water, like when people arrive for the ceremony, water bottles there. And I know water bottles are wasteful too. So depending on your opinion on being sustainable and everything, water stations with cups or reusable water bottles are great, but it's just people do not realize what a huge deal it is here. I just had so many people have to be bummed because people had to leave their wedding early because they drank too much, because they're dehydrated, or they have a headache, or they're altitude sickness. So
water.
Okay. Plan for leftover alcohol.
Yeah.
I think people just forget. They're like,
oh, there's going to be leftover.
Yeah, and you're flying out the next day, or your mom's car's already full.
It's nice when your bartender can return it.
Yeah, so a lot of times your bartender will, if you have a bartender, they're going to ask you in your initial questionnaire, what do you want done with the alcohol after? And your coordinator will ask you the same thing. But just knowing, like, at the end of the night, we need to have somewhere to store it safely. It's not kids and people aren't going to get into. We need to have somewhere to put it that's like out in the open.
Are we loading it up in your uncle's car and he's taking it, or
So just a plan.
Yep.
And I don't know why no one ever, if they're DIYing their alcohol, they never remember lemons. So I put lemons on the list.
Well, yeah, the garnishes. That's
the
like
garnishes.
the last
I mean, even
thing
if it's the most basic bar and you don't have any cocktails, like someone's going to be like, I want vodka soda with lemon, and you're going to not have
some lemons, some limes, and some cherries.
You can pretty much do everything with those
things. Pretty much do everything with that.
Okay, there you have it. Don't forget the lemons. Anything else that you can think of?
As far as what people forget.
Yeah, or just anything. Any last notes on bartending weddings?
Just have fun.
Yeah, I know. That's what I want to say. It's so fun. This is like, your wedding's supposed to be a party. And I know there's so many considerations about what does my mom drink and what does my dad want.
Let your bartender take the lead and have fun.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a party. It's supposed to be fun. And you're supposed to end the night feeling like, oh my gosh, that was such a good time with the people I love. So yeah, that's what the bar is about, whether they drink or not. It's about having a fun time.
Yep.
Okay, next week we are going live on YouTube talking about desserts and cake, and it's my favorite part of weddings. I joke all the time. I became a wedding planner for the cake, so I'm most excited. We talk about cakes and stuff. Will be joining us. So otherwise, thanks guys for coming, and we're out.
Bye bye.
And we're done.